Hello, virtual students. This is your cyber teacher, Mr. Oswald, presenting to you basically what was presented in class today. I just finished up all of my um, in-person classes. Our introductions are done. I think they have a good idea. The kids that I saw today have a decent idea of the ins and outs and the do's and don'ts of senior level single semester economics. And now I'm going to try my best to give you the relevant bits that would help you navigate this class if you're learning from home this semester. So you're looking at a field of links right here. There'll of course be no seating chart to go over or anything like that. And a couple of these things, for example, the process of like going to the bathroom and things like that, will be completely irrelevant. So we won't hit upon all of those, all the links you see before you here, but a lot of them are, I think, a great way for you to kind of get acclimated to what learning and negotiating through this class is going to be like remotely. We'll start over here. We'll start at resume. I let the kids pick their own, like kind of a choose your own adventure, in the classroom. But I think it's going to be teacher directed as long as we're doing this online. So this would be my resume. Just want to give you an idea of where I'm coming from. This will be my 21st year teaching. I've taught for now 2 decades and a day. So it's been the majority of my time spent as an adult. There's no doubt about it. And it hasn't been 21 years of just same old, same old. Here's a sampling of the places where I've worked. You'll probably be familiar with maybe 3 or 4 of these. I've been at Forsyth County for 13 or 14 years. 1 year spent as a 4th grade teacher at Shiloh Point. What a great year that was. A decade, 10 years spent as what is generally regarded as the Harvard of Forsyth County middle schools. That's, of course, Piney Grove. And then lately I've been, of course, at Denmark campus since we've opened. So those are the 3 places I've worked around here that you'd be very familiar with. A couple of those pictures are actually of schools that are in foreign countries. I've worked not only for the state government, the state of Georgia, also in Massachusetts as a teacher, but I was also a teacher in the state schools of Hungary. My first teaching job was at LaBelle Elementary School in beautiful Smyrna, Georgia. I've also worked at a parochial school in New Jersey. That's the building you see in the top center. And I was a teaching assistant when I was a graduate student at Boston University in Boston, Massachusetts. So that's where I'm coming from. I've taught all sorts of different subjects. I've taught kids from the ages of 6 to 22. And I think I've been in all fields: foreign language, language arts, math for a long time, social studies. I actually directed a play, so maybe you could even give me theater. I was a theater teacher for a little bit. But the only one I haven't been allowed to get near is science. So if you're looking for help in science, look elsewhere, which is ironic because my father was a chemical engineer. So that's my resume. Let's skip right over to communication. So if you only have 5 or 10 minutes to view this, I want you to see, these are like the most critical of all. So communication, what could be more important, especially if I don't see you on a daily or even weekly or even monthly basis? What could be more important than this? Of course, we're going to be using It's Learning as our main device to not only transmit content, but also to evaluate and to discuss. So the pedagogical or the teaching part of it, the databasing of material, and also the evaluation will all take place within the It's Learning suite of apps. But It's Learning has a weakness, and that is that it's passive communication. That is to say, I can upload to it, but if you're not checking it, then you're never going to know that I've uploaded anything to it. That's where this app Remind comes in. So what Remind does, it allows me to kind of actively communicate with you even though I don't see you. And what I mean by that is I upload something to It's Learning, you're never going to know. But if I send you a tweet or whatever you want to call it, a text in Remind, at least it'll shake your phone a little bit. So what I'd like you to do now, don't sign on to this one because this is my Denmark High School economics one. So let's get rid of that one. This is the one I want you to sign into. So your class is going to be separate. Since all the good names were taken, I have selected for you DHS Cyberspace Economics. So we're kind of learning on the net. So since I came of age in the 1990s, I'm more familiar with cyberspace than internet, kind of like that term. So there you go. Here are the directions right there. You can stop the tape if you want to, break out the mobile phone if you're not using it to watch this. And, bippity bappity, just put in that rmd.at/8K4 and you're good to go. And you'll see I use this a lot. So this is a very important thing to like really on the very first day. I forced all the kids to sign up to it today who showed up. So you want to do that same thing. Okay, so you might be wondering, well, what else? Well, equipment's going to be a bit odd for you because obviously you won't be coming into class every day. But I'll tell you what, I still think all this is legit. Now, for the kids that are here, maybe the laptop was optional. I guess in the virtual students case, at least having access to a laptop is critical. I still think a calculator, not a graphing one, just a 4-function one is fine. I am partial to the TI-30 XS Multiview. As I said, I taught math for a long time. I like this calculator. I know what all the buttons do. That's a good one to go with. You'll need paper. I don't think you'll need this many pencils. This is like aggregately. You'll need this many as like an entire class, but 2 or 3 will do you just fine. I love erasable pens. Those are these bad boys right here. You might want to look into that. Look, you're going to be online, but I think the tactile part of learning, the kinesthetic part of learning, holding a pen in your hand, writing on paper, printing out some of the materials, I think there's merit in that. I don't think just staring at a screen and clicking is necessarily the best way to practice. So I would recommend the binder and the dividers and printing out the things that are posted online. So you can do it, which I think in a natural, non-artificial way, and that is engaging with the work, touching paper with a pencil in either your right or left hand. So that's the equipment. What I'm going to supply to you, of course, bang, we're going to have packet materials for each of the 4 or 5 units. And it's weird for me to say 4 or 5, but when we get into the curriculum, you'll understand why I'm using that or, because it just depends on the way you look at it. And this might be the first class that is a relevant way to talk about the breakdown of a curricula, but there you go. That's how it's going to be. So there's the equipment. All right. Leaving won't matter. That's how to get in and out of the classroom. Why don't we build a little bit onto my background with going with why I am here. So why am I teaching economics? I could be doing a lot of different things. I've made this choice, so I've chosen not to do other things. I find it fascinating. This is my first, last year was my first year teaching it. Actually, my graduate degree is in international development, and so there was a huge economics component of it. So there's the marriage between those two things, my personal interest in teaching it, and of course, back in the day when I was in college, my passion for learning about it, reading about it, these type of things. And the other thing that's interesting is, just take a look at this graph. A lot of people equate economics with money. That's not exactly accurate, but I think there is certainly a lot of overlap there. As mentioned before, as obvious, I taught and continue to teach in the United States. And although we'd always appreciate a raise in our salary, as you can see, compared to this collection of countries, America's doing quite well. It looks like the top end of our salary about in the mid 80s. I've also had the pleasure to teach in the Republic of Hungary, and among this group of countries, it ranks dead last in terms of in terms of pay. And it's interesting because the jobs.
As a reminder.
So despite the differences in income, the job is almost exactly the same. We deal with the exact same issues in this country as they do in that country. Even the cliques of students are precisely the same. Whatever clique you may not have been in the United States, you would have fallen into the same thing over there. The only clear difference is that obviously they use a different language, sounds like English being spoken backwards, but that's it. And so wanting to know why such similar jobs have such completely different economic outcomes just because of geography fascinates me. So looking into that and looking at economics and comparing economics between, the economic systems between countries, I find fascinating. For example, Why is the United States, why does the average teacher earn this in the United States? Why not that? What are the reasons for that? So these kind of things are of deep interest to me. One book I came across when I was in my graduate studies, I think one of my first classes, we had to read this. It was a brand new book at the time. And the middle part of that title, that book, great book. David Landis is a professor at Harvard University, or at least he was 21 years ago. You might not get into Harvard, but you can read the books that these guys write who teach there. And why some countries are so rich and some so poor has fascinated me for decades. So this book was kind of like students in one, almost like a gateway book to 20 more of the similar type. So that's why I love being able to teach what I'm interested in personally. And that's what I get to do here, which is great. So that's why I'm here. Of course, for you, it's a little bit different. You might have an interest in the field of economics. You might be curious about, maybe not. But it is one of the necessary components of social sciences credit to be able to graduate from the state of Georgia. So whether passively or you would have sought this class out as an elective anyway, that's why you're here. So let's move on. All right, let's look at evaluation. You want to know how well, or how I'm going to know how well you are doing in class. Well, there you go. Something that may have been a little bit different from the kids that took this course last semester, that would be the spring of 2020. Maybe you knew a couple of those children. The EOC is going to happen. So the EOC, the end of course exam, will be 20% of your total average, which will push your formative average from 20 to 16 and compress your summative average from 80 to 64%. And that's how we're going to come up with our 100. In terms of formatives, we're going to have quizzes. We're going to have finished packets. So these packet things that will be provided, obviously, through cyberspace to you will be turned in and graded. Test review materials, a lot of that online. And occasional in-class tasks. Those will be, of course, posted as its learning tasks for students taking it online. In terms of summatives, I think we're going to stick to exams. I don't see in a semester-long class the opportunity for a lot of projects to be going on. So that's what we're going to be doing there. So that's evaluation. Let's see. Where can we go to next? Cyberspace Help. There are a lot of websites, there are a lot of individuals that earn their keep providing support to econ. I would wager that it's a necessary course in almost every high school curriculum in almost every state in the United States. So some that I wholeheartedly recommend. We've got Jacob Clifford up here. You put into YouTube Jacob Clifford and the topic that you wish to watch a video about within the field of high school economics. He's got something, and it's really good. Review Econ. This has been shared with me by my colleague, Kristen Funderburk, who will also be teaching on-level senior single semester economics this year. She says it's wonderful. I believe her. And this one right here, this USA Test Prep, this is the one that we'll use for sure. This we purchase. This is provided to us, and this is properly calibrated to help you prepare for that EOC, which, as you can remember from the previous slide, is 20% of your grade. Okay, let's go over here. Now, your small group activities and your whole class activities, whole class activity we can't do because that requires a whole class. But your small group activity, it's going to be a group of one. Let's try it out. Bang. Look at that list. Think about 40 items, perhaps 50. If you had 10 of these to pick, which 10 would you choose to take with you from a sinking boat off the coast of an uninhabited island? I'll give you a moment. You can just copy them down on a piece of paper. I just don't keep them in your head. Copy them down on your piece of paper, and after each one, write why. So what I would do right now if I were you, stop the video, take a few moments, read through all of them, pick 10. Be back in a moment. Okay, you've probably got your 10. Great. Oh, that's the boat's alarm. Got to get off the boat. So you're taking your 10 things, right? And you think you have a good chance of maybe at least short-term survival on these islands with the help of these items. Great. Good for you. Now, as you're kind of wading your way to the islands, you see a pool of school of sharks, group of sharks, and the rules change a little.